bad, me sick, me Reggaeville.
Reggaeville family, this is the Reggaeville Easter special coming to you with a very special guest that I've been longing for to interview for the longest while. The last time we spoke was 21 years ago. I just mentioned to him. With me is David Hinds, aka David Dredd from the great, wonderful Steel Pulse. How you doing, David?
As you say, is it Guten Morgen? No, it's Guten Afternoon.
Nachmittag. Super easy word.
Well, German is so like a bit of a tongue twister for me.
It is. But you're doing very, very well already. So as we are on this tour through Germany, you're catching the German?
Well, I'm trying my best. I mean, there's Frühstück and there's Horsklar or something like that. But my German sucks, to be fair.
No. You're getting there.
Eine kleine Nachtmusik. That was by, was it Mozart? You see, that's all I remember. Schoolwork.
You remember the important things, the music, right? Music is what brought us together here, and music is what you have been doing for more than 5 decades now with Steel Pulse. Last year, you celebrated the 50th anniversary of Steel Pulse. Congratulations on that. How does that make you feel that you are here after all these decades, still doing the works, still being on stage?
I feel blessed, I feel grateful, I feel thankful, I feel honored that we know that we've been around so long and still able to do what we love doing. Yeah. And I feel more honored simply because I had no idea that Steel Pulse's legacy, our career would have lasted so long. And I thank the people. I thank you, the fans out there.
Definitely, but we do thank you as well. You labeled this tour now in 2026 the Reggae Against Racism tour because you said racism has no place in society because it is still so relevant to do this. How do you experience the recent times and what motivated you to go for this motto, Reggae Against Racism?
Recent times have been shocking, as you can clearly see, and one of the catalyst for all of this as well when Brexit took place. Mm-hmm. You know, it was evidently the beginning of something being separate and being isolated, the whole thing. So we start really paying attention from there. And then as you can clearly see what's happening in the United States right now with ICE and with walls being built and people being just, there's borders and barriers now that are happening all of a sudden all over the world. And you got lots of political parties that have sprung up over the years. We always had the National Front. Mm-hmm. Here you got the AFD. Exactly. In France you got the RN. Mm-hmm. In America you got the KKK, and you got other sort of pockets of bigotry going on there. So we could see clearly what's happening especially in Western world society. Yeah. And my spin is this. We started this 50 years ago when it became Rock Against Racism. Exactly. And it never went away. Mm-hmm. And we're actually celebrating the 50th anniversary since music became active in responding to the racism that's been happening across the planet. Mm-hmm. And we've come to realize now that it's something that probably has to be addressed, every generation. Mm-hmm. It's a generational thing, this racism. Yeah.
But I was just about to say, you played Rock Against Racism in 79, and here we are 47 years later, and we're still having to address the same issues. We are still facing the same racism. We are also facing still classism. We are still facing division in various aspects. How does that make you feel, that to see that even after all these years, have we moved any further as a global society, or...?
Evidently not. We haven't moved that much further. But we can honestly say that music has played a part to galvanize people. Mm-hmm. We've had lots of festivals across Europe, across the Americas itself, and across the world. And we recognize that music somehow sort of keeps people together. Mm-hmm. But it's never been under the banner of rocking against the racism, so to speak. Mm-hmm. So this is where we come in. But what we've recognized as well is that it appears as if it's something that's going to have to be addressed, when it comes to another generation and another generation. Because it doesn't seem as if it's going away. There's always, with the age of the internet, you'd think the there's been more of a unification with, different cultures, because we start to understand what's going on with TikTok and YouTube and all these social media platforms. But it's also, just as how it sort of galvanizes people, there's always been used as a platform to separate people, if you see what I'm saying. So we've realized that one mistake we've made as the human race is to leave it completely to music. So music's not going to be the only entity that's necessary to still have a racial harmony amongst mankind. It's going to be other factions as well that to get involved and make it happen. Children are going to have to learn outside of the musical realm, how to be more respectful of each other when it comes to religion, when it comes to culture beliefs, when it comes to the languages, when it comes to everything possible that makes another man different from the other. We have to start to learn how to understand each other, and we can't leave it to music alone. That's what we've learned.
But speaking of that, so how much impact can music have on society, on social structure, and on people?
It has a lot of impact already, because all the divisions, despite all the divisions, the common thread is that everyone likes music. If you see what I'm saying. I know that the Islamic world doesn't really believe in effigies and things along those lines, or musical things like that. But there is also people within that realm that understand that there's a world going on out there where they, in their religious self, have learned to accept there's other cultures out there. But there's been such a division now. We really need to come to the table as a human race and have some kind of entity, packaging, that goes out there and deals with the situation, that we all need each other. As it stands, we recognize the world to be like a motor car. The motor car has 4 wheels, and the 4 wheels, as you know, if one tire, the 4 wheels represent each race. The black race, the white race, the Chinese race, the Indian race. There's all 4 general races. And if one tire becomes flat, if one of the races are either eradicated or been at a disadvantage because of whatever it is, whether it's class, racism, economy, we as a human race, as a car, is not going anywhere.
Yeah, exactly. I think that is what we have to understand, that there are things bigger than us individuals. But I thought about the 47 years and racism still being existent, and a problem that we definitely have to talk about. I was wondering, is it today less that the individuals are racist? That I think as humans, as individuals, I think we have made a lot of moves to be tolerant, to be inclusive, to unite, actually. And is it maybe more that political parties, as you mentioned them before, that governments and administrations are the one now trying to divide us by spreading racist paroles and all these things? Or would you disagree?
It's never been individuals in the first place. It's been some kind of systematic force that's always been out there that tell you to act collectively to hate something. And it needs to be collective, because if it's individual, that structure can easily be broken down. So the first thing that the system plays on is to have people in pockets. Then the pockets become masses. Then the masses become countries. And then this spread of hate. But individuals, never the individual, if you see what I'm saying, because individuals get wiped out immediately. It's something that's inbred, and it's trained, it's controlled, if you see what I'm saying. I remember growing up in England where there was a lot of racism, and the reality of it is that the British society were never taught how foreigners came to their countries in the first place. They were never educated. So look, the reason why a lot of Indians are here in England is because, earlier on in the 19th centuries or the 1900s, we went into their countries and took what they had, whether it's their gold, the materials, and we did the same thing for Africa. And the reason why people from the Caribbean are in the Caribbean, because they were exported as slaves. And, we had sugar plantations, we had cotton plantations, we had all these kind of plantations, and we benefited from it. The British people were never told, one-on-one or collectively, the reasons why a lot of foreigners came to their countries in the first place, and how much Britain profited from the wares and the minerals that these countries had. I think had they been taught that and been programmed that this is the way it is, I think we'll be having different results and a different approach to everything. I think ignorance has been the master of racism. And, when it comes to racism, it's brought together its cousins, fascism and Nazism and all those, they're all relatives. That's what I'm saying. And it's all relatives of negativity. And I think the Western world society in particular needs to go back to the people and explain to them why foreigners have been in their countries in the first place. If you get my drift.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
And I mean, just last week, the UN Ghana brought in the resolution about slavery being acknowledged as the grievous crime against humanity. 123 countries voted in favor of the resolution. Some 52 abstained, and even 3 voted against it.
Okay.
So how do you see this voting, and also this as a sign? Because we can say, okay, there are still 3 countries that do not want to acknowledge.
What are those 3?
The USA, Israel, and Argentina. Well, I think we don't have to add any comment to that. But I mean, unless you want to. But so 3 voted against, not even abstained, but in particular against. Or would you look at it from a positive perspective and say, okay, we have 123 countries acknowledging that it is the grievous crime, and this being the start of a movement to say, okay, we have now this from the UN, so we can start now educating the people about what happened, the stolen land, all the horrible crimes that have been committed as slavery and so forth. Because there are always 2 perspectives. Say, okay, it is bad because 3 didn't vote for it, but we can also say, okay, 123 agreed that it is a horrible thing, and we must, create this awareness.
Well, you've heard a term to be on the wrong side of history. Well, that term would never have been created. It would have never been put into place or used as a term if it didn't really happen. So it's good that the 123 countries are on the right side of history. If you see what I'm saying. Now it's trying to fine tune the reasons why the other 3 are not on the right side of history. And I could understand, when it comes to Israel being on the wrong side of history, because in acknowledging the slave trade would also sort of maybe help to evaporate or wipe out the memories of the atrocities that happened to the Israelis and the Jewish people over the as we know, in 80 years ago when World War II was in effect. So I could understand the reason for that. As for the Americas, that I do not really understand. Why would America collectively vote along those lines, which is kind of weird, because when you go to America in itself, there's a lot of people who are in favor of being part of mankind, part of the human race, being competitive, being where they want to share the world and to be part of the world. Is what I'm saying. So I'm asking myself, is it people or the governments?
Yeah.
Is what I'm saying.
I think we know the answer, don't we?
Well, we do know the answer. But what strikes me, there's a woman that's representing the Conservative Party in Britain called, is it Femi? No, Kemi or something like that, Baden Knocker or something. And from what I've read, was opposing the acknowledgement of what took place in regards to the slave trade and the reparations, so to speak, which I'm sort of shocked about that, because she's actually Nigerian and African. So what we're finding is that there's a lot of people that are speaking, that they're not making any sense when it comes to their valuation and evaluation when it comes to what's happening on the planet. But I say thumbs up. If it's 123 countries that acknowledge that, I think we can only look at the brighter side of things. And it's good that the 123 are on the right side of history.
Definitely. You, as Steel Pulse, have always addressed particular issues. You made songs, Hands Up, I Can't Breathe, George Jackson, Justice and Gina, Handsworth Revolution. How important is it to pick specific topics, particular things that actually happened, unlike making general statements, general songs?
It's very important. It's paramount. And what I've recognized that, Steel Pulse have had a chance to come to their, I'd say, generation number 4 right now. When we talk about 50 years, 50 years, every 15 years, it's a generation. It's not 25 years that everybody think it is. It's every 15 years because children are growing up fast. They have access to more information than we ever did when we were their age. So I'd say we've gone 4 generations when it comes to information. And I found, like, for example, just recently, I have a friend of mine who we were talking about Steve Biko. I was mentioning the birth of Steve Biko. They never heard of Steve Biko. I had to explain to them that Steve Biko became the next thing after the incarceration of Nelson Mandela. So they said they had to go back and look into that. So I find that it's important that that we keep addressing the situations and fine-tuning the situation and announcing, making names for people to understand the progression of history and the progression of whatever it is we're trying to eradicate or what we're trying to promote. That there's always been a beginning to this end, and there's always been an end to this beginning. And I think isolating and naming incidents, people who throughout history have made an indentation to make mankind a better place is important for them to know who they are. So yes, to me it's very important that we still keep the names of people who've been trying to change this world, in the psyche of individuals and and parties, so to speak.
I absolutely agree. Do you feel that's maybe one or even more songs that you wrote have even more impact now in 2026 than maybe at the time when they were created?
Well, there's one song that's never left me and has never left what the world's been really about. And it's been one of the first songs that we wrote, which was Soldiers. Because things were all right before the soldiers came. All these invasions that are happening, when you look back on it, it's about people from other parts of the world coming into the countries of others and interfering with the cultures, the languages, the history, the politics of these countries, if you see what I'm saying. We've seen over the years how mankind has structured themselves, where they've had, tyranny, dictatorship, oligarchs, and all these kind of people that are there suppressing the people. This is why we wrote songs like Tyrant, if you see what I'm saying. But there has to be a network of people in different parts of the world, different countries, in different cities, that have a networking that's about making mankind a better place. You see what I'm saying? And I mean, I'm saddened to hear that America, which is one of our major stomping grounds, will be there, voting against trying to make the world a better place, so to speak. And that's exactly what that's what's happening. Yeah. It's making the world unstable by saying, no, you're not welcomed. Yeah. If you see what I'm saying. And I keep saying what I normally say to Americans, well, give me an American name. what's your name? There's a guy who says, oh, my name is Mr. Brodsky. And then there's another guy who says, oh, my name is Mr. Cruz. And another guy says, I'm Mr. Khan. And all these names, I said, well, hi, so we're Americans. Well, how can you be Americans and you don't, what I'm hearing is not an American name. I'm hearing names that originated from somewhere else. So that's where it becomes a bit of a, you know, it becomes upsetting, discombobulated. Yeah. It's a juggling act, if you see what I'm saying, where how can a country that's made up of so many different countries speak of racism? Yeah. It's absurd for me.
Yeah, it is absurd.
But that's the way it is. Well, we, the rest of the world, we're going to change all of that.
Right.
You know, who wants to remain isolated? You know, what we've learned, what mankind has learned, that no man's an island.
Yeah, absolutely.
See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
England wanted to be an island. They came with Brexit.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden they're realizing now that, you know, that they're going to need more people than they realized. Because they were banking on America once they made the Brexit. Only to realize now that they got Russia fighting against Ukraine and America's not helping, if you see what I'm saying. And so England's saying to themselves, hang on, I thought we were together. So they're scratching, reevaluating themselves back in England right now. They're realizing that, you know, could we have made a mistake coming out having Brexit, leaving Europe? Because, you know, they're not going to admit it there, but things are not so nice. I mean, I'm traveling with a passport. I got to put at the back of the line all the time. I got to be filling in forms, and they're missing flights because this is what's going on right now. It's so many ways.
But doesn't that all boil down back again to the power structures are shifting and people are like the bigger heads or Babylon or whatever we want to call it is going for divide and rule, because this is the easier way, as you said it earlier also. If people unify, they are a strong force as a unity.
It's all about greed at the end of the day.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, when you really analyze the whole thing, it's I want it all. Yeah. And it's not happening that way. I mean, when I look at the wars going on right now, there's ulterior motives to what we are seeing. We got Iran there, all right? They had a dictatorship going on there. But the underlying currents of the reasons, as far as I'm concerned, is to destabilize countries like China. Because, you know, China's energy is relying on countries like Iran. So once you destabilize one country, it helps you destabilize another country. And that's what it is. It's about destabilization and not sharing the world. It's about trying to have it all. And I think it's going to grind itself to a halt. Yeah. You see what I'm saying? We just don't know how and when and where and when. Yeah. That's the problem right now. But we need to share the world. This is why Reggae Against Racism is relevant. Absolutely. And, you know, like I said, and the time is now. It's been 50 years since music has been participating in trying to show the world that going down that road is not the way to go. If you see what I'm saying. So, you know, Reggae Against Racism. Remember that. Yeah,
that's so crucial. So we started by saying you were in the business more than 50 years now. Yeah. With that being said, what inspires you today in 2026 and what keeps you going and motivated?
What keeps me going is the same thing that's been keeping us going from the beginning. It's been the people, and it's also been this drive within myself where there's a lot of things I still like to know I can achieve as a band and as an individual. You know, individually, I still like to take time out to do the things that I love besides music. Like I want to get back into doing fine art, painting, and, you know, depict the world another way. If you see what I'm saying, that I'd like to get involved in. I'd like to give back. I'd like to know that we are having entities and organizations where we can invest into, you know, those who are less privileged than ourselves are seeing something, you know, because, you know, they're benefiting from something that we've given. I'd like to now put myself more in a charitable position to give back to, you know, the people across the planet that have played a part in making us happen as a band. You see what I'm saying? So, you know, these are the things I like to know. And as a band, you know, I like to know when it comes to our legacy that we're talked about, you know, decades after we've sort of hung our belts up and retired as a, you know, as an act. You see what I'm saying? Speaking of acting, that I'd like to participate in as well. We've never had that opportunity. I've only been in one movie titled Rocksteady. Yeah. Well, you know, I'd like to know we could participate more into, yeah. And if not us, our music can, you know, play more of a role in the, you know, the people's films themselves, if you see what I'm saying, or documentaries. I like to know that we become more of a household name in more reasons than one. Wonderful. Yeah.
So we have so much to look forward to. I hope this all manifests for you. I'm really looking forward to seeing you in many more movies. David, I think it's crazy that you're saying that you're giving back, doing that, because I think you have given us so much. Thank you so much to you and the whole band for the music, the message, and the works that you put in. I wish you nothing but the very best, health and strength, and just keep going. Don't put up the belts as yet, please. Okay. Thanks for having this wonderful reasoning with me today, David. All the very best. Blessings.
Thank you, dear Munchie. So, love and light and respect.
Me mad, me sick, me Reggaeville.